What's that sound? Is it Spooky Friday? Is it Spooky Bonus Friday?
I was not expecting that.
Hang on. Spooky Friday. Has that done anything to my voice?
That's done absolutely nothing. That's done nothing to your voice whatsoever.
Hang on. Spooky Friday.
Wait. Okay. Dear listener, I'm going to get you to introduce the title. Dear listener, welcome to a very special, first of its kind, very new on a Friday episode. We are here to do a wildcard episode. We are here to review the movie for 2024,
The Exorcism. I don't even know. How did that sound? I don't get to hear it until there's
a lot of reverb. I mean,
I reverbed it up.
My mind.
I've got this is the one. This is what you want. Here we go. Do it. Hit it back to me. Hit it back to me.
We are reviewing
The Exorcism.
That was the one.
That's the one. That's what you want. Bit of echo.
Yes.
Whoa.
Dear listener, happy Friday. Before we start, I mean, in the UK, we've just had an election. But we're living in pre-election times. We're currently on a Monday. We have no idea what's happened.
Oh, so let's we'll record a couple of ones. Oh, Nigel Farage is in power. Hey, welcome to Reform United Kingdom.
I'm leaving the country.
Or, oh my God, Ed Davey is in charge. It's the Lib Dems.
Who? What's the next one? Oh, great.
It's Rishi Sunak is back. Well, another 5 years of a Tory government. And Keir Starmer's in power. It's the Labour Party.
Jesus Christ.
There we go.
There we
Just
go. We've covered all
cut and trim.
Trim.
I'm sure people who like the Greens are getting fuming, but, you know. Yeah. We're realistic here, all right? Let's not take the piss.
Sounds like a great idea. Never going to happen, is it? Anyway, let's not get political. Let's not start that on a Friday. Okay.
Friday bonus. So
anyway, here we are. This is very exciting. So, listener, this is it's not new. We've done wildcards before. It was very much part of our format as a podcast here for the last couple of years. But now we're dedicating our Friday episodes for the most part on reviewing Friday episodes, and we are doing wildcards based on actors that have been in a superhero franchise movie at some point. So The Exorcism, which stars Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe has not only been Jor-El in the Man of Steel movies, but he's also been Zeus in the MCU. He's been in his fair share of superhero movies, but yeah, different type of movie. He's done something like this before more recently, and I think it's got a lot to do with the I want to say critically panned received notion of the Exorcism with this. That sentence went everywhere.
I was full of surprises. I was on the journey with you.
I sort of broke down a little bit there.
Me and you went to Alton Towers and back by the time that came on. Whoa!
I feel like Joe Biden there a little bit. Anyway, carry on.
What a reference. We're well on the political game. Oh my God. Yes. Agreed. So Russell Crowe in The Exorcism. First and foremost, we want to thank Strike Media, our friends at Strike Media, who got us a cheeky little copy of this movie, which is currently in the cinemas. Go and see it. Stars Russell Crowe. We've got lots of excitement. It's I believe this is our first straightforward spooky that we've done.
Other than Krampus, which we did as Christmas, just gone. Yeah. Yes, this is definitely the first one of its kind, for sure. First. You're not a horror kind of guy, are you, mate?
No, so I don't like I'm not a fan of a jump scare. I am the type of person that would go on where'smyjump.com, which is an actual website, to locate the jumps in a film before I watch it. But I'm strong. I'm strong there. Yes, I'm not a fan of jump scares, but I do like a horror. I like a thriller film, just not of the jump scare variety. Although, having said that, I'm currently looking at a massive fuck off poster of A Quiet Place that sits in front of me on the wall. So, yeah, call me a hypocrite. But anyway, but on the most part, though.
Yeah, man. Well, so let's not delay. We're going to do the same format as we've always done with any of our movies. We're going to go straight in with a summary, and we usually go to Rotten Tomatoes. So let's not change that. Let's go to Rotten Tomatoes and give yourselves a little summary. Forrest, are you going to back me up with a little bit of a spooky underscore? Yeah.
Yeah. What live, or do you want me to put this in the edit?
Pipe it in the edit.
I was going to go.
You can, if you want to.
I can give it a go. No. I will shut up. You read us the synopsis. I'll see you soon.
Usually Forrest does this, and I'm like, no, I'm doing it because he's still a bit COVID-y. So I'm gonna. Okay, are you ready? All right, here we go. Academy Award winner Russell Crowe stars as Anthony Miller, a troubled actor who begins to unravel while shooting a supernatural horror movie. His estranged daughter, Lee, Ryan Simpkins, wonders if he's slipping back into his past addictions or if there's something more sinister at play.
Ooh. How?
Well, okay. Well, there we go. So, that's the Rotten Tomatoes summary. Would you like to know what the Rotten Tomato meter is telling us right now?
Yes, give it to me.
So the movie was released in the UK on Friday the 21st of June, so a couple of weeks ago now. The tomato meter is reading at 30%, with the audience score at 36%. Fairly low there, dear Forrest.
Lower, but higher than 10%. So, I think that's an important thing to please bear in mind.
And it's mathematically correct, yes.
It is factual, that information. That's not fake news here, ladies and gents. Absolutely is 30% tomato meter, 36% audience score. Now, at this point, we normally provide, and we should make no difference whatsoever, to provide our summary thoughts, Matt. So what are your overall thoughts of The Exorcism?
Okay, so I thought I think the positives within this movie. I think there were some really nice moments of cinematography in it. I think the concept of a film set and a horror film set interests me. I think, again, you and I, so being in the creative industries as well, talking about and seeing that backstage thing and then being played out in a horror concept, I quite enjoyed. I think there was some really nice moments with performance from Russell Crowe. I think Russell Crowe did absolutely everything within his power to make it a decent script. I think he delivered the lines as well as he could and gave a good character as well as he could. I'm saying as well as he could because I think there's things at fault from a narrative basis and a character basis. The daughter, who was played by Ryan Simpkins, Lee, I thought gave a really good performance as well, quite understated as well in moments. However, I think the story is just all over the place. It felt like it was disjointed as a movie, and there are things that I'll talk about, I think, that are at play and at reason for that, looking into the movie itself and how it was shot. The script felt convoluted at times and felt very surface level, and then the even from a horror, and this is the other thing. So, like, me and Forrest aren't horror experts. We're not that type of podcast, but you use horror to sort of place in suspense, but you place it in moments that are then also going to further story and narrative. And it felt like those moments just kind of got lost, and then we just got to the ending, and it just sort of happened, and that was it. I think there was a little bit more opportunities to play with psychological thriller, I think, around it as well. And it felt like they teetered onto it, but they didn't really fully go into it. Particularly looking at kind of the past of Anthony Miller and his issue with the church, of growing up in a church and being quite clearly the character being abused within his formative years and stuff. I think there could have been something played into that a little bit more, but yeah, I think the script was a bit icky, and the last 15-20 minutes were just a goner for me.
Nice, thank you for your thoughts. I can echo those thoughts. I thought it was incredibly atmospheric and dark. I agree that the cinematography was great. I think from a visual viewpoint, this is a great film. It really sets the scene.
Was great.
It's gorgeous, and the simplicity of the story, although in the writing of it can be problematic, I would say that actually in the visual representation, it was fantastic. And for a horror, you don't want anything overly complicated, to be quite honest. It made for, and this film doesn't drag on for too long. It keeps to what it is, and it finishes at a nice pace, I would think. Some, like I say, great performances there. I quite enjoyed the plot to a degree. What I enjoyed from the plot was that although this is obviously absolutely nonsensical in terms of reality, it's not based in a fundamental reality. However, Russell Crowe's character of Anthony trying to escape his demons, and he had a wife with cancer and died. He became an alcoholic. He's got a daughter that is facing all of those problems and more. And his history with the church, and I thought this gave great reason as to why this part was problematic for him and why these things start to unfold around him. It also metaphorically gives a great place at the end of the film. So although there are evident issues with the writing, and sometimes far too one-dimensional and stereotypical, I would say that actually on the whole this provides a great, linear, quick, to the point story, which is a joy to watch at times.
Mate, you just said quick. That's again kind of how it felt. It felt like they could have added at least 30 minutes onto the runtime of this movie. It felt like the last act was played very, very quickly. We got to the ending, I thought, at a point where I was like, hang on, I think we need to get to that a little bit later. We need to play a little bit more of the demon, and the demon then transferring into the actual older priest, and who was Ian Fraser, that guy? I think he was, wasn't he?
I think so,
Fraser, yeah. And it felt like that needed to get played out a little bit, and that's what I mean why I think in that moment in the last act we needed to see a little bit more of Anthony's past to then justify the demon and all that kind of stuff, and then going to that bit. I don't think the way that how it ended was particularly bad. It just happened too quickly.
Yes, the guy you're on about played David Hyde Pierce, who played Dr. Niles Crane in Frasier. There you go. That's but yes, I one of the things that I really enjoyed about this, but that wasn't allowed to play out, was that we went through shoot days. So we had shoot day 1, shoot day 2, which I like as a little technique, and actually in many ways it was quite... some of the more spookier scenes played out almost like Paranormal Activity, Matt. I don't know if you've seen Paranormal Activity.
Yeah.
But we had real scenes of especially in the flat where, his daughter will walk past the corridor, he suddenly disappeared. And I really enjoyed that, and even the setup of Paranormal Activity. We go through day 1, day 2, day 3. It's a diary, very much a diary format, and it's filmed like that as well. And I enjoyed that, but we didn't let it play out. We had a couple of shoot days, a random flash forward in terms of the shoot days, but we didn't really keep with the format. We started with it strong. We'd have a shoot day. We'd have a non-horror scene built amongst the film set, and then we'd have a flat scene where things are starting to go pear-shaped. for Anthony, and that's good. Have a real clean cut day night, and then things start to merge. Right, the day becomes night, and we get some of that supernatural stuff coming through. But I don't feel like it was done in a very It was clever how it was done, but it wasn't pulled through right into the end. I think it wasn't carried through enough for me.
Yeah, I think the bits that I kind of were immediately interested in so me and Forrest have an acting background. We've trained as actors, so the first and foremost thing that we kind of look at is story between characters, right? So then what I was immediately interested in was the troubled past that Anthony's had with his daughter from the first moment. So then when she comes back into the fold, she meets Dad again for the first time. She doesn't call him Dad, she calls him Anthony, Tony. And we don't get an immediate kind of deep dive into their history, and I was a little bit intrigued about, oh god, okay, what happened? Oh, okay, so he was a drug addict. Okay, cool. So then he distances himself from his daughter. Right, okay. So we went rehab. Okay, right, okay. And then he's come back through it, and now she's back into love. So we got all of that quite quickly, and I was like, you can draw that out. You can stretch that. You can find the arguments. You can find the moments where they get back together and things are going well, and then it goes terribly wrong when the demons start. We do see it just happens quite in a disjointed fashion where it wasn't seamlessly connected to each other. But
agreed. We didn't have enough arguments between those two where this exposition was fed through at a normal rate. It was right at the start. Oh, this is my story. This is why I haven't done, this, and now this has led me to this acting part. I thought, given, I find it quite ironic as well that given that this is a film and that film sets, the writers will have known film sets would have been on many, right? And yet some of the most unrealistic scenes and the most kind of like, what? Kind of scenes were the scenes where he was I think it's the scenes with the producer and Tony as an actor, and it was it was just so fake. It just all felt incredibly fake and not centered in any kind of reality whatsoever, right? There'd be some level of well-being for this guy. And there was no well-being to it.
I think that's the thing where I got a little bit like, I don't believe that, because that's not based on fact. Now, okay, so I think you were talking about the director.
That's it, sorry.
The audition scene.
Yes.
So Russell Crowe is a great actor. You've got somebody on, who can literally play dramatic and comedy in a blink of an eye, right? In a breath. You can do those two very quickly, and you can see quite clearly that Russell Crowe is playing the traumatic past, and he's using that as anxiety around the audition circumstance, the fact that he needs it. He's still not fully, feeling going back into the industry, going back into that. It's kind of like a do or die audition. We all know how that feels. I think when it then meets this director who is a complete arsehole right throughout. So fair enough. We've got a director that's an arsehole, all right? That happens in the industry. But the problem is that this director is just surface level arsehole. Like, not even, we don't really get an explanation to why he's a bit of an arsehole. So we've got this stereotype in a scene with somebody who's got lots of layers in their character, and it just clashes. It felt like it was two different genres of performances being played out in a scene, and the fact that he tried to latch onto his kind of past in the church, and then he actually films that instead. Just so you know, dear listener, in real life that wouldn't happen. In an audition, that wouldn't happen unless they have asked for consent to go, can we just film you while you talk about yourself?
Just film you on the yeah.
There is no way that would ever happen. And also the way that the director talks to the actor on set is, I would say, for the most part, doesn't happen that much anymore in the industry. And there are, like you say, there are things at play now in the industry where the performer and the actors are protected and supported from a mental health standpoint, but also from a physical health standpoint as well. So,
because as far as I'm aware, and do let me know if I'm wrong, Matt, but there is, in terms of when this is set, as far as we're aware, this is contemporary, like this is now, right? Yeah. We're not led to believe there's any time difference between this film and where we're at now, 2024. So, given that is the case, there, 100% this wouldn't happen. 100%. So, and like you said, to root Tony's character in a lot, like in a real sense, he would, have alcoholic tendencies. I can believe that if his wife's died of cancer, he's had this vile upbringing. I can totally get on board with all of that. So if I can get on board with that, and I can get on board with his daughter's story, then the biggest plot device of all, which is the film set, needs to be deep rooted in reality as well, and it just isn't. The idea also that there would be about 5 members of Crowe with a set that big and in a film set, they clearly got a lot of money, right? They're just recording on the cuff. Like Russell's turning around, they're recording on the cuff, mate. These are professionals at work here. This is not some amateur dramatic like scene that we're watching, or some university film crew. So they're going to have far more than about 5 people watching what's going on.
It's not a student flick. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. There's production value there. Yeah, 100%. Actually, if anything, I find it interesting how Ryan got a job on set that quickly.
Yes. And again, sadly, this film lets itself down on all of the filming scenes. I think all of the shoot films, for various reasons, including what on earth Ryan would be given a job, is just a little bit, and it's a big shame, because ultimately this film is about the filming of, The Exorcist, right? It's that. So the film scene, the shoot scenes have to be incredibly on it. Otherwise, the thing breaks down. And unfortunately, I think that these are the scenes where it breaks down. The flat scenes, however, going back to the flat scenes and going back to, getting Paranormal Activity vibes there with some of the shooting going on. Incredible. Really good. Incredibly atmospheric. Doesn't rely solely on jump scares, this movie. There is a lot of it is the atmosphere being really set up in a beautiful way. And I keep saying flat. It's not a flat. It's definitely a house, isn't it? But
it's definitely a house. No, in terms of, it's like a little.
They've got a basement. Masonette. It's a masonette, if you will.
Masonette situation. What are they called? Stagecoach houses.
Oh, very nice. Lovely. Yeah. Sure they call them that in America, stagecoach houses. Sounds very British, that, but yeah. I have a stagecoach house, please, in America. In the suburban America, may I have a stagecoach?
So I think we've gone straight into kind of deep diving into the movie, but I think before we go any further, I think it's important to kind of preface all of this. I don't know, Forrest, if you knew, but did you know that it actually was filmed in late 2019?
Oh, I did not know. Pre-COVID.
Yeah, it was. So it was originally shot back in 2019, and then obviously COVID put everything kind of like to a pause, and it became a bit of a stress around the movie. But also around this time, Russell Crowe also did another horror movie called The Pope's Exorcist, which then was more successful, and it came out just before this one, and it kind of put pause on this movie as well, because they didn't want to kind of like tie those two movies together so quickly, and the fact that Russell Crowe is playing kind of similar roles but for a different movie entirely. It originally was, I think, I'm just having a look at my notes here. So the movie was originally in the hands of Miramax. But then when COVID happened, it then got sold to Vertigo, and then it had its reshoots when COVID lockdown restrictions ended, and then obviously what happened, mate? Straight after kind of at COVID times, we then had the strikes, so then they couldn't finish it with the reshoots, with the strikes and everything, and then that kind of put pause on the release of the movie until the strikes were over. So,
a bit of production hell.
I mean, it's a bit, and I think if you're kind of looking at the overall product of the movie, you can kind of see it's had too much time in the editing room. It had too much time with the reshoots. It had too much time with the writers, producers, director that's involved. Joshua Miller, is the son of the actors that played Karras, Priest Karras, I think, in the original movie. So I think there's a connection in there. It feels like it's just had too much time thinking about it too much and kind of go, okay, well, it's COVID, we've got time to kind of like look at the story, look at it, and it just lost. Maybe it lost the passion, maybe it lost the heart of what the original tension was for the movie, which I think is a bit of a shame because there were some definitely lovely moments in it. You had the cast, you had everybody that in there, that could also Sam Worthington was in it for a moment.
Sam Worthington plays Joe.
Moment. He's amazing. Have you watched Under the Banner of Heaven?
No.
On Disney Plus with Andrew Garfield. Sam Worthington is absolutely fantastic in that. He again. So that's one of those actors where I was like, oh my god, Sam Worthington's in this. Amazing. We're gonna get some good scenes. Oh, he's had like literally 2 minutes of screen time before he met his demise. Like, what the hell was that? Like, surely there was more scenes with Sam Worthington. There's no way you're just hiring him for that moment, right? Surely.
Yeah. Well, incredibly busy with Avatar, mate.
Yeah.
Incredibly busy.
Really weird. Like, see, he basically became the replacement for the shoot, and then immediately got killed as he was rehearsing his lines by Tony. Demon Tony, let's say.
That was amazing scene, by the way. He comes through the mirror.
That was cool. And then the glass in the eye, this is the other thing. We don't get many gory moments in this movie, and that was one of them where it was just like, oh, that's pretty cool. And I actually, in all fairness, that was pretty cool. But it felt like we needed a little bit more from Sam Worthington's character just before the demise. Yeah,
100%. It was really good character. I want to do a shout out to David Hyde Pierce, who we talked about before as Father Connor. I thought that was great, really good, really rich, deep layered character there. Again, the whole thing, it naturally, even with The Exorcist, is quite stereotypical, around religion, blah blah blah. But he plays that part fantastically within this. And as you say, Matt, I think there's so many great actors in this. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem to all gel into place. There's fantastic parts across the spectrum of the movie, but it doesn't kind of create a nice cohesive whole.
I like that cohesive whole.
A cohesive whole.
The way you just planted those hands together.
That was my Alan Partridge moment there. A cohesive whole.
Oh my god, that's so good. If we're kind of like just talking about the ending, what do you think about that ending moment so the demon then kind of the demon Tony transfers into the priest demon? The reason why I'm saying is because it didn't feel very clear that was something that could happen. There was no precedent made whatsoever that the demon could just pass into other beings. And is it because it can only pass into other beings that have had troubled pasts? Because there were 2 other people in that room that it could have quite easily gone into.
Yes. Agreed. It's about that part, right? It's about that specific part in the movie, because we open the movie with an actor playing the same part, going through the same thing. Do you remember? Yeah. So I think it's specifically the actors who are going into that part and this is where the director scenes could have gone to, is the director is looking for that authenticity, so he is bringing in actors with lots of toil and trouble in their history, and then putting them in that role, and then that role is a catalyst for all of the other shit that goes on. Now the ending, I mean, as is the case with any movie like this, the ending is going to be the ending, right? It's going to be melodramatic, over the top, whatever you want to call it. But yes, I agree. I think that we have a lot of scenes with Tony in this movie where he's looking at crosses, or looking at his scripts. At one point, I think he looks at a Bible. Like, he's looking at all and there's a lot of scribblings and markings, but nowhere, like you say, nowhere kind of precedes what we see at the end. Nowhere kind of points out, like, in order to get rid of this, darkness inside you, or whatever. There's none of that. So we are left with quite a a random of sorts scene at the end where, and again, I like the scary moments throughout the film because they felt quite natural. Him disappearing in the corridor, but actually, he just walked out of the scene while she's pacing the corridor, works. So even the spooky bits on the whole have a kind of natural vibe and natural sense about them. So when we go so far away from that at the end, and we go so surreal and animated, it kind of feels like it's jarring to an otherwise quite naturally horror staged movie, I would say.
It's playing into different genres as well, in terms of like comedy and thriller, I think, and maybe just trying to just get that general kind of like, there's bits of this and there's bits of that. It's not one definitive kind of set genre. Whether that's the intention or not, or whether that's shared in terms of views there, I have no idea. But the ending, I thought, the same, just kind of came at a point where it was just like, this is a lot to process. And again, in terms of narrative, it was really difficult to follow. The bits where the girls were chanting was something straight out of the bloody Crucible, mate. Like, it felt like so like Crucible-y in a way. I thought Abigail was going to turn up, and then John Proctor. I'm giving weird theatre references.
Very specific.
Which I'm sure people would not
I
go.
reckon we've lost about 97% of the audience there, man.
What?
Well, I actually liked episode 116 of Don't Be a Hero podcast, where Matthew starts talking about Proctor. I have to say, I thought that comparison with the Exorcism was a fantastically apt comparison there from Matt. Yeah, agree.
But like there was I think with any climactic moments in a horror movie, there needs to be those big implications, but also it's the aftermath, the impact from the characters from that moment afterwards. And it felt like everything just kind of resumed into, and all of a sudden Tony and Ryan's relationship was stronger than ever. Like it
blossoming.
Like, they're blossoming, and it's like, no, like what if they've just gone through that horrendous experience. Like, there needs to be some sort of genuine kind of like residual kind of like, oh my god, what's happened there? But like, even with a time jump, which I don't think it did have a time jump massively, it doesn't fit very well.
Yeah, I think the main thing with this movie is a lack of identity. I think it tries to be two different movies. One of those movies is deep rooted in reality, in what if the idea that you could, like, spirits and all bad demons existed and monsters, right? Existed because of all of these bad traits in a human, or whatever, this bad history, this bad omen. And then you've got this kind of, this is full out exorcist type madness. People like jumping out of their beds, the spirits taking over, huge, great like lightning scenes and lighting scenes. Jesus Christ, and just chaos and chaos and chaos. And it's like, well, actually, unfortunately, in this day and age, when you try and do both of those things, doesn't really quite work. It needs to just have a bit more like, okay, is this paranormal activity? You know, is this paranormal activity? Obviously not actually happening, but is presented in a style where it actually could be, right? Fairly as realistic as it possibly could be. Or is it just out and out crazy batshit religious, like spirits, just chaos going on? And I find it hard to find which one is trying to be.
Felt like the ending, I think the location of the film set, like we just said at the beginning of the podcast, like, was such an interesting concept. They could have done the whole sequence at that end where the priest could have been chasing them. Once the demon goes out of Tony and then into the priest, they could have been chasing them around the different set, destroying the set, using the glass shattered from Sam Worthington's death to then throw that at them. If you're gonna make it supernatural, then make it properly supernatural. Do you know what I mean? Then go into it. Then make it that choice. Just instead of just fixing it in the iconic bedroom of The Exorcist, just use the whole fucking building. Get what if it looked like it was on the back lot? If you used one of the rigs and the rigs then flew at them and they were flying, I think there was opportunity there to use more environmental things in that final sequence, because it just also, I don't know about you, but like at the beginning of the movie, I thought the sound concept was actually quite interesting. I liked the sound design until the ending. The sound was so flipping loud. You could barely hear any lines. You could barely really make out anything that was happening. And it just got a little bit overwhelmed. I think the word is overwhelmed.
Talking about the film set, though, I think my favourite scene is the scene where Tony kind of loses it on set, right? Yeah. And he goes down to the ground floor of this set, and he's like, the lights start flickering, and it's insane. But again, Stranger Things, he's wearing his Stranger Things t-shirt, ladies and gents, that's exciting. But again, how that was presented in the film, it should have all been via the camera, right? They're filming a film, and it's all about a film. So why are we not watching it in the guise of a film? You know, again, I'm going to say it again. People are going to get bored of me saying Paranormal Activity, but Paranormal Activity, it's
the one thriller horror
it's
to see.
It's the only thing I've seen. But they use home cam recorders. It's all in the style of right. They are filming a film, so let's watch it in the camera lens. And also, if you are a camera operator and that shit's going down, you're going to get that on camera, because you're going to be like, whoa. So that would have been insane to have a blend of like actual film footage and the wider film. I think that would have been insane. But that scene still was amazing. I love the lights going off, and he creates that little pose. Again, some great acting from Russell Crowe there. Lovely.
Yeah, I think there was some. I think, kind of like wrapping it up now, I think in terms of like my overall kind of like final thoughts on it is that the movie had some really good performances for I'd say the first third of the movie. I thought Russell Crowe did well in what he was given. I thought actually everybody did well in what they were given, particularly Russell Crowe and Ryan Simpkins, who played Lee. Is it Ryan? It was Ryan, wasn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And it just kind of just flew off. You can clearly see that there were just disjointed moments from a text narrative standpoint, and I felt like it needed at least 30 minutes more of screen time with certain characters. I would have loved to have seen Russell Crowe and the priest have more of a conversation about the past, because they were alluding to the fact that he was the priest that he was abused by. Like that could have been such a big thing to talk about and to reveal and to play that through a little bit more. Even in the final moments, the demon talking to him through him, stuff like that. It just kind of fell short on that kind of regard for me.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I thought we were going to get like an actual, like, solid proof that this priest was the priest, because we were getting flashbacks of a young Tony, and there was something about like the hand on his mouth and stuff, or like feeding him the bread and or whatever, right? And I thought it would have been really easy if he'd have had a birthmark on his hand. And that priest also had that birthmark, and then he just sees it, and then we get that flashback. Would have been like just a lovely touch, but yeah, sadly not to be.
So I think in terms of like giving it a little crisp rating to listeners, we're going to give this a little crisp rating out of 5. So real wildcard reviews, we're going to do this differently. We're going to do it collectively. So I think. I don't know how we do this. Do we do it? Do you just tell me in our chat, private chat me, what you think it might be, or do we do it at the same time after 3 and see if we've got the right rating out of 5?
Are we including halves?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic!
I think I know what we're going to do. Okay.
Oh, so lovely.
After 3, you and I are going to give it a crisp rating with halves included if we needed to. Out of 5. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, 2.5. That was amazing.
There we go. There we go. Genius move. Say no more. Let's call that here. We've done 116 episodes. This is the last one. Thank you. Good night. The peak. No, but I agreed. Yeah, definitely 2.5 stars. Not awful. And there was some great bits in it, really good bits, really solid bits, but on the whole, I just feel like this doesn't. You can really feel that this is a movie that's had far too much time in the oven, and because it's been slightly burnt on the edges.
100%. So we've given it 2.5, for the Exorcism. Let's just. I know this is a superhero podcast, so it'll be silly for us not to mention Thor 5 with Russell Crowe. Do you think we're going to get Zeus back in the picture for Thor 5?
I mean, if we don't, it would be insane, given they did a whole end credit scene. Yes, I believe we're going to get Zeus. Although crazier things have happened, and as we know, Thor 5 has gone through its own kind of production hell. It was off on again, different people like potentially directing it. Yeah, very odd. So who knows? But I hope he is. I love Russell Crowe. I like the character of Zeus. I think it could be positive and a good thing for Thor. So let's see. What about you?
Yeah, no, I think definitely. I think it's kind of written in the stones of the MCU lore that Zeus has got to come back, because to follow what's going on with Hercules and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it feels like it's quite imperative. But we will see. Do you think he'll turn up in Gladiator?
Gladiator. I mean, it'd be a crying shame if he doesn't, right?
Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it? A little cameo. Just a little cameo.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, it's a little cameo. Oh, yeah.
A little Crowe cameo, if you will. Oh, lovely.
Yeah. All right, well, fabulous. Thank you, Forrest. I love you. Dear
you
listener,
more.
Thank you so much for popping in on a wonderful Friday. I hope it's a brand new day in the UK.
It's a brand new day, a brand new government. It's the United Kingdom. If you don't live here and you haven't got a new government, welcome anyway. New government in the United Kingdom. And France is possibly electing the far right at the same time. Oh,
yeah, they are, aren't they? Yeah. Oh, let's not go there. Anyway, let's leave it there. Dear listener, I hope you're hungover because you're happy and jubilant of what's happened in the UK. I hope we're all okay. I hope England win on Saturday. It was a scraped win. I'm not going to go into the Euros, but that was a scraped win this week. So let's just have a comfortable win into the semis, please. Though I don't think it's going to happen. Switzerland are going to cane us.
I have looked into this actually. Just before we break up about the England match, I had a look online. I took a couple of hours this morning to really have a look. Apparently, you are allowed to make substitutions in the European.
Yeah, it turns out.
Matches,
You're actually allowed to, and do it. I can't doing it at the last minute as well of the actual 90 minutes. Don't think that's how you use them. But anyway, I'm not the professional here. I don't know. I'm just a guy that's talking nonsense. Clearly. Anyway, let's just stop it there. I love you.
Ta-ra. Good night.
Bye, everybody. See you next week. Episode 6, The Boys. See you there.